Good morning. So, guys, I have this unfortunate. Let's see if I can. This is a not good document that I got on Saturday. Um, guess you can see my name there. Anyway, it's a it's a big old packet of stuff here. I have to file uh, online. Thankfully, I guess I don't have to go to court, but looks like I don't I don't I've done a little bit of research on how these things work, but anyway, I I don't know, guys. I think that once this is filed with the court, I don't know if there's any turning back. I don't think that there's any way to reverse. I don't know. Maybe I should call them. But here's the story as I look through these documents and try to multitask. Um, in the midst of really awkward stuff going on in our country, they have people walking around on while they drove. There's in a car, but knocking on people's door and handing out um, judgment um, claims or whatever in the world these things are called, um, to get their money, regardless of what happened to the person, regardless of what circumstance they're in, because things must go on. That's how it works. Um, so this is a weird thing because this is one of six uh, people or debtors or whatever that, sorry, creditors. This is one of six creditors that that I have communicated my circumstances to and what happened, and none have been explicitly forgiven. So I expect this to happen over and over again with each one. I guess they each operate on a little bit different time scale. Good Morning Contio Bear, and of course, Good Morning Homestead Bound Bear. Curiosity is way up. Yeah. Um, so, for anybody that's interested in Goldberg, interested in context here, 2 years ago, I had a near 800 credit score, had always paid all my bills on time, and so on. But beginning 2 years ago, I stopped getting paid, a little over 2 years, because it was at the beginning of the year. I stopped getting paid, and I got strung along like a little fool, um, that I would get paid. I had quite a few bills, of which I actually still continued to try to pay, all the way until um, the summer, which is just amazing. But it was around May, for the most part, that I was no longer able to pay those, and I had to reduce my financial payments down to rent and food. And that persisted and has persisted, as I have not risen above to the capacity of contributing towards these financial obligations. They all dropped off, and this is the one that first turned into a judgment against me. Um, mm, there's a little document in here showing that they bought this, the collections agency. They black out the sale balance. They don't want you to know how much they bought the debt for. But yeah. All the documents in here. I'm just looking for any relevant information, and like I said, multitasking. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, blah, blah, blah. So I had went through this extremely uncomfortable time of not getting paid, and I was kept afloat by a tax refund, a small family loan, and generosity of church members, and I never had to go homeless. Um, Let's see, guys. I don't even know. Nope, that's not what I wanted to click. So it's been a few it's been a few days since I've streamed. I have been dealing with a small little issue. Was this debt related to? No. This so I paid my electric bill and my rent with credit cards. Um, Exclusively. It was a very strange time in which when I say small family loan, that was um, mm, at the time the only person that I knew that was capable of doing um, anything that would have helped. So is what I was under the impression of the amount that I would need because at the time that I was asking for the money from the family member, I thought that it was all I would need. It was $1,400. Um, I thought that's all I would need to get through, and I thought that I was going to start getting my paychecks, which never came. So, but yeah, I had quite a few other debts related to the business that I had started, that small business, um, was around 20. Whether or not they include the interest, I don't know. I think the final count would have been around $24,000. That has all. Um, they sold the equipment. I had a rental, not a rental. I had an equipment lease, and they sold the equipment that was allegedly like they. It cost a little over 10,000. The lease amount was um, 24,000. I paid about five or six. I think I paid $6,000 towards it um, before I could no longer make payments on it, and then in addition to that, there were other things that we had a business credit card that we used. Starting a business on credit is just a really, really bad idea. The crazy thing is, I was fully capable of I was fully capable of making all of the I've looked into both. I did consider all of those. Um, I did. I looked into them. I had actually seriously considered and met with a lawyer when I was in Florida. In the state of Florida, awkwardly enough, um, it was as if I think money judgments weren't even a thing in Florida. Like there's an exemption for Florida residents, and then I moved to a state because there was an opportunity to live in a house without having to pay, because I can't afford to even I can't afford the rent is too dang high. Party guy was right, way ahead of his time. But anyway, the crazy thing is, despite um, how terrible trying to start a business on credit and all that was, is I had full capability of paying all the obligations. Um, it's when it's when my capability was removed that I was no longer capable, which is obvious, but obviously unexpected as well. There was an expectation that the business would take a while to get off the ground. There was not an expectation that at the exact same time, um, the Medicare industry would grapple a fledgling business, um, into the ground. That being the counseling company that I worked for. It was the counseling company's fault that what happened, but the Medicaid industry and the process in which how payments got processed and all that stuff was the main um, issue. So anyway, it's been a weird thing to go through. You get into a position where I, I have gotten into a position where I was under the impression that I may, uh, provided this opportunity of being in a place where I don't have to pay rent or mortgage, but I still pay the bills, the utilities, and everything. You get into a position where you feel like maybe there might be a little bit of hope. Maybe maybe I could put something together in the course of a few years, and maybe I could buy some land. Maybe I could finally find a way to be a little bit more self-sufficient, not always behind the eight ball, as they say. And then what happens is kind of like a rubber band. Anything that's trailing behind you hits you right in the backside. So, do I expect mercy? Is the question I ask myself. I ask myself a lot of questions. I've thought about this. I've had a lot of time to think about this. Do I expect mercy from those that are typically merciless? Well, there is incomplete justice. All of my debts could have been taken care of. Not my student debt. That's a different issue altogether. Um, but all of my debts could have been properly taken care of if my wages had have been paid to me. But as a result of me getting grabbled out of half a year's worth of wages, um, over $30,000, guys. I there was bonuses they were planning on giving me for being the highest um, production, and I was lined up to get another position that would be even more lucrative with a anyway. It doesn't matter. That business is no more. Um, Hi, Jeremy. Good morning. Drive safe. Yeah. When I looked into it, it was about a $1,300, and um, at least it was in Florida, approximately $1,300. I would say that the process was pretty easy. Anyway, um, so it's a weird position to know the rightful obligations, and they're following the process that they always follow. They've received in writing and verbally my quote unquote testimony, and it's fallen on deaf ears, I suppose, is the best way to put it. Um, it's just, yeah, it was major, major grabble. Yeah, lots of people need encouragement these days because in the midst of getting this original notice and petition for a money judgment totaling over $5,000, and that's just one of others that'll probably come my way eventually. Um, I, I do customer service for a company that sells urns, and let me tell you something about the funeral and burial and cremation and urn sales businesses are dropping to unusual lows worldwide. Um, there's a lot of different things that could be said about that. Very confusing in some ways. But with that being said, on the more simple side of things, even in the midst of uh, living in a house that is not mine, being in a state that is nowhere close uh, to just about anything, having judgments pushed forth and against me. Like I said, I can't deny the rightness of this. They're doing what they're supposed to in a lot of ways. Um, but on the bigger picture, there's money that I'll never see that was due to me righteously as well. Um, so you know, when you are living this life, you do what you can. And when you tell people that you'll do a certain thing and they say, nope, that's not good enough, and you say it's literally the best I can do, look at me, look at what's going on. You reveal yourself to them in full honesty. And they go, nope, that's not good enough. Um, it's a weird thing, guys. I'm a really most of the time pretty logical kind of guy. So I look at this and I look at all these different things and I go, a man is supposed to take care of his family, um, provide, prepare, and then based on his successes and failures, he will have the capacity to do that in a lot of ways. And of course, let's not forget the providence of God and his grace and mercy. I have since repented of known and unknown error, um, in the known capacity, making decisions that were advised against, for instance. And I'd made those decisions out of a sense of um, compassion, love, and care for the sake of a family in need. And those decisions led to unforeseen consequences. Not completely unforeseen, just the not getting paid your wages, which historically, biblically, from what I understand, it's one of the worst things you can do to a person is have them do a job and then not pay them for it. It's a pretty lowly low. Have I forgiven Medicaid, the organization of Medicaid? Have I forgiven MCUSA? Yeah, I had compassion for MCUSA. Um, for Medicaid organization, I have a little less compassion because I see it as a full nearly 100% grabbler organization. The way that they do what they do is, I mean, it's a form of an insurance company. It is insurance, but um, insurance companies are really grapplery. Very little about what they do is righteous or operating within a fear of God mentality in how and what they do. Um, so there's that. I'm not looking forward. Um, yeah, yeah. And the amount isn't even relevant because I mean it is, but it isn't. Um, if like for me, it was over $30,000 because it was over 6 months. Well, it was about 6 months. pay. It's not. There's that. It's all just numbers. The point is, yeah, that's a jacked up situation, Creator Bear. It's funny that the most emotionally intense boss I ever had was an Orthodox Jew. Um, I've talked about him before. I still love and care about that guy. Keep in touch with him from time to time. Um, I wonder if a money judgment can be dropped, and I will find out today. Otherwise, from what I understand, is if you don't make a certain amount of money, which I don't, they they don't take your paycheck. But when it comes around time for tax refund, they get all their money first. That's how I understand it. Um, so anyway, it's it's so weird, guys. So the way that these things work, and I'm sure some of you, bank account, yeah, yeah, I used to. It's a little too much to bother with most of the time. I guess the part that is confounding to me regarding these situations is they give you an opportunity to pay a lesser amount, and that's inevitably you're incapable of doing that thing. Because if you could have done that thing, you would have been paying the bill in the first place. Um, it's it's really jacked up. Anyway, it's one of the things I put a lien on your bank account. Yeah, I have a feeling that loophole won't work because I think you have to have a money flow. You can't just let there be a judgment on a empty bank account. If that was possible, judgments would never work. It's pretty funny. Great Bear. Um, Politically, Canada seems terrifying. It's even further away from family. Not that I've necessarily made any massive attempts to be close to family, but um, it's still something on my mind. Um, that's why, if possible, I'd like to move back to the southeast. It looks like, crazy enough, I'm getting vibes from the current events in the nation that the whole $2 trillion um, plan isn't going to happen, not in the slightest, and that they're going to quote unquote reopen the nation lickety split. I'm just getting the vibes that that's what's about to happen, and that everybody's going to be back to work, and yeah, I stay away from big cities. I'm I'm already well aware of that. Um, yes, they will. It will just show as a negative balance with no penalty for 6 months. Yeah, I believe that people, no matter where they are, if they're in the Lord, then God makes a way for them, even in crazy countries like Canada. It will then be released and attempted again after they refile. Yeah, it's just, how many times do I want to? I mean, I don't have much control in this situation, but I'll call and see if the main dude or whatever, one of these people, will actually listen. Just an idea situation could just spread. Yup. Yeah, if it's still active at tax filing, it will take your refund. Yeah, I've read that kind of stuff. Um, well, guys, the thing is, I don't I don't have a sense of hopelessness um, or anything like that. I know that this will pass. I'm just growing a little suspicious as to whether or not it's going to take another 10 years. The consequences of that one thing of me not getting paid is going to impact my life for quite a long time. It is apparent. And yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Not a big fan. But it doesn't stay permanently active. It may be homestead bound bear. You know, I've wondered about that. Obviously, I have a lot to gain from a jubilee, but yeah, I think you're right, Create Bear, because the funny thing is, I always looked at Canada. I always looked at Canada as drastically more um, liberal. I thought that they killed babies way more up there and stuff like that. But turns out the statistics for murdering babies in Canada is identical to that of America. So when I saw that, um, this distorted view that I had of Canada, that they were just the absolute worst, most liberal of liberals, uh, I think it started to fade away a little bit at that point when I saw that. So, um, so yeah, I I wish I had I wish I had more um, encouragement for others in this time. I guess the encouragement that I know to give is that God it is sovereign, and and I do wholeheartedly trust in God with the near $100,000 of student debt, with the 20 something thousand dollars of other debt that is all what do they call it when it drops from your credit? Um, and not all of it is even tied up in collections. I think one of them did actually disappear, but I don't know that for sure. Um, yeah. Anyway, it's it's just a situation. It's one of those that makes you just go, what do I, how do I, how do I manage this best? How do I, I'm going to shoot you. What, where do you want me to shoot you? It's like, how do you answer that question? I mean, I guess toe, shoot me in my pinky toe or something, I guess. Maybe that wouldn't be a good idea. Shoot me in my ear. Not in, not in my ear, like past, whatever. It'd be deaf. It's funny though, guys. So I come up with a silly hypothetical situation like that, and I think to myself, you don't have anywhere near that level of control in this situation. Control is an illusion. A lot of good family people here in magnified liberal areas, as they do in the States. Yeah, no toe in Ontario. Also, there are guns in Canada. Interesting. Bass Pro Shops. I've only been in like one or two of those. Pretty big places, though. Well, guys, it's 6:40, and I've rambled about the woes of the reality of the world we're living in. My job is at risk. I'm getting served money judgments. Um, it all seems very, um, well, it's always in God's hands, but it seems out of control. Doesn't mean it is. So in this time, I will definitely choose faith. Sounds like a good system. I will choose faith, guys. People need to start buying urns again. I know that much. The fact that there's a worldwide uh, reduction in the past 2 weeks, the numbers are just taking um, a 45-degree angle downward in like if you look up Google trend or trends.google.com and you type funeral, uh, cremation, burial, urn, and you look at the trends for each of those words, the fact that all of them are taking a dive in the past 2 weeks is a little baffling with a quote unquote world pandemic. Very strange. Yeah, I've heard about that too, that 95% of abortions are being are not happening. So that absolutely is a huge win. Um, big time. Yeah. Amen for that. Yeah, there's going to be another boomer generation. The corona boomers, especially if this does persist. Yeah, especially like the Italian ones, right? Because they've been blocked in for a while. So there will be a Italian corona boomer generation, especially, but maybe here in America too. Corona boomers, king boomers, because the crown, Corona crown, king boomers, ultra boomers. Can't imagine. I won't really have a chance to see them get old. I'll be super old. So, anyway, guys, um, no matter what you have that you're staring at on your desk or doomsday pile or whatever, choose faith. There's no better way to handle a situation than to actually place your faith and trust in God that He is sovereign and that He will handle the situation. Doesn't matter how big and scary it is, it really doesn't. I have a feeling that nearly everyone that I know has um, some burden, some nuisance, monkey on their back, quote unquote, And I offer you the same advice that I would give myself. Choose faith. Not that I haven't. It just seems to be the sort of thing you have to repeat. Repentance, forgiveness, faith. Never done. That's okay. That is okay. Anyway, follow Yahweh, not your way.